if I need to meet 100 people to make one deal, how long will it take me to go meet 100 people and how can I condense that?
Welcome to the Never Employed Chat. My name is Sam and I interview people who make a living beyond salary jobs, entrepreneurs, business owners and investors, so that we can learn from their stories together. There are many great ways to make a living and even more ways to wealth. At Never Employed, we encourage you to think of alternatives to employment jobs. What would you do if a salary job was simply no option?
I worked a W-2 job where I didn't really enjoy working for the man. And I was like, well, what if I did something out on my own? And I'm just kind of bubbling through it now, but started as a real estate agent and built up a team and flipped some houses and have some rentals. And it's been a fun journey, but just wanted to kind of, I guess, connect with you. And it's super cool what you're doing and how you're inspiring other people to kind of take the path less traveled.
I try my best. In the end, the props are mostly to my guests because, in the end, it's mostly people like you who share their stories and essentially motivate people to think of alternatives to, as you said, like W-2 jobs or other opportunities. You already said that you started as a realtor already with the entrepreneurial intention.
Yeah. So as a realtor, what I looked at was business as kind of a three-step process where first is getting out of the W-2 and learning a skill that people will pay you for. And that to me was, okay, let's learn real estate and people will pay me to broker transactions for them, specifically real estate investors, where for me, there's plenty of people who can open doors and point at the perfect backsplash and the nice bathrooms. But for me, I was like, I like the numbers and the finance side. And so I want to work with real estate investors. And that's a niche skill that people will pay to have an agent who can help them through those transactions. So that was kind of step one, is getting that skill and learning about real estate. I wound up, even right before becoming an agent, I think that the important thing was to put myself in a position where I could learn the business. I didn't have a background in real estate. My parents don't do real estate. And so I took a job that actually paid me about half of what I was making at the time to just go learn the real estate business. I worked as an intern and I'd already been out of college for a few years. So it was me and a bunch of college kids. And I was like, wow, I had to swallow my pride a little bit, but it was really good to learn the business, to learn investment real estate. That was at a private equity fund. And then from there was able to launch into being a realtor and wound up kind of being able to grow from nothing to doing about 15 million in transaction volume my first year, and then building up a team kind of after that. But it started with kind of that first step of, I need to learn a skill that people will pay me for, and then figure out the business side after that.
So you actually started with an internship before you actually became a realtor.
Yeah. So that was just through connections. Just I knew somebody, I knew someone from the church that I was going to, and I was like, I know he's in real estate. Let me just strike up a conversation with him and see if there's anything I can do. And that kind of led to the internship.
What was the general process afterwards? So you did the internship, and then like how did you become a realtor, and what happened afterward?
After the internship, I just had to study for my real estate license, and then had to take a couple courses for that, and then got my license in Tennessee. And then really the first kind of 90 days as a realtor is just all about building your network, getting leads, and then figuring out how to work those leads. And so for me, it was putting in systems into my business and trying to figure out how to keep track of leads and build my network. My big thing was saying, well, if I need to meet 100 people to make one deal happen, how long will it take me to go meet 100 people, and how can I condense that? So that was the simple terms that then just kind of became my life for the first 6 months. If I can meet 100 people every 2 weeks, so if I can meet 50 people a week or like 7 people a day, it would be unreasonable for me to not be able to close 6 or 7 deals my first year. And it wound up, the conversion ratio wound up being a lot higher than 100 people to a deal. But I think that's the way that you just think as I can't control how many deals close, but I can control how many people I'm going to reach out to and how many people I'm going to contact today. And just trusting that that's going to lead to deals in the future.
So does this mean that you really met 7 people a day in person?
It shaked out to about 6 to 7 a day. I mean, some days I'd meet two, some days it was 15. Because when I started breaking it down, I was like, man, that's a lot of coffee and beer to drink, and trying to just meet a bunch of people. So um, I tried to go to as many kind of networking events or real estate meetups that I could. I tried to figure out like, well, how can I meet a room full of people at the same time and become an authority figure there, or just, add value to those rooms so that I can meet 10, 15 people at a time instead of just one or two, and then go back and plug it into my system and make sure that I can keep track of all of them after. But yeah, it probably wound up, I think my database was about 200 people after probably 3 or 4 months. Plus, I'd just hop on the phone and I'd cold call investors that I just skip trace their numbers from past sales or whatever and said, hey, I saw you flip this house. Are you still looking? I'd love to work with you. And that helped kind of add some fuel to the fire.
So in the beginning, you didn't really just start to contact prospects, but you rather contacted other investors to connect with them, to learn from them.
Yeah, exactly. And what I found, it's the same approach that you're taking that I love, is I never wanted to pose myself as the expert. I would say, hey, I'm new to this industry or whatever. I'd love to just sit down and hear what's working for you, what's not. And then in that conversation, I'd have an opportunity to share, hey, this is what I know, or this is what I've learned, would love to help find you a deal. What are you looking for? If I find you something, will you work with me on it? That wound up working a lot better than me coming and saying, I'm the big real estate agent and you should want to work with me. That never really works well.
So this means you collected just the information certain investors have been looking for, and then you started sourcing these kinds of properties.
Yeah, exactly. So I would just make a list. So I'd make a list of the name, and then I would put in what kind of property they're looking for, and then I would go find the properties, because for a lot of people, there's either listing agents or there's wholesalers who will come up with the deals, and then I would want to work with the buyers, and then I would be able to kind of match make and say, well, let me connect you as the buyer with these deals. And it's really, as far as building those two lists, it was almost like two separate things, but it worked out really well, where if I have my buyers list here of a couple hundred people, and then I have listing agents, wholesalers, or direct to seller, if I'm doing some cold calling or whatnot, I've got this list. Anytime I had somebody on the buyer side looking for something, I could email everybody over here saying, hey, I have a buyer looking for a 3-bedroom rental house. If you have anything, let me know. Or if I get a deal on this side, someone has a 3-bedroom rental house for sale, I email everyone on this list and say, hey, there's a 3-bedroom rental. Are you interested in it? And it worked really well, because when you get both sides, a list on both sides, it just gives you a lot of different opportunities for somebody to want to make a deal happen.
Then we actually come to the interesting part. So how did you actually, or how do you still find deals for investors or for yourself?
Really, what I wind up doing for myself and my own investing is my wife and I do what's kind of called house hacking. And so I think you and I talked offline about this a little bit, but we've done a few of these now, where we buy a property and it's either a duplex or it has extra bedrooms, and we rent out the extra bedrooms to the other side of the duplex, and then we move on and buy the next one. And so for us, when we moved out to California, we decided that we were going to start investing out here. The properties are way too expensive compared to Tennessee. So we were like, well, let's sell off a couple of properties in Tennessee to go start out here. And that worked well. Most of our deals we've actually just found basically on Zillow, where I think people look for the wrong things on Zillow, where when we source most of the deals, it's either something that's been on the market for a long time, or something that was way overpriced and isn't selling, or is a for sale by owner that's up that people are just missing. There's something unique about it. And that is really what investors are looking for, where if I can throw in a lowball offer on something that's been on the market for 6 months, they might take it. But everyone just scrolls through Zillow on the new listing and says, "Oh, I see one at 800,000. Can I offer 6?" It's like, no, that's not going to work. Come back to them in a few months. So that's how we'll do it. And then we also will. That was how we started, and then I started basically buying lists of phone numbers for homeowners, and would just cold call. I had a buddy that he and I did it together, and we would wind up just calling sellers directly or texting them. We used some batch texting services and then some cold calling to try to just go find more off-market deals.
From your point right now, would you say it still makes sense to start searching for deals on online platforms, or would you rather start finding off-market deals right away?
I think it depends on who you're working with or what your strategy is. So if you're an agent and you're working with mostly rental property investors, I think it makes a lot of sense to look on the market. There's a lot of properties that have been sitting for a while with interest rates going up. The sellers are now understanding that their properties aren't worth what they thought they were, which hasn't been the case the last couple of years. On market, you could list a property for whatever you wanted and it would sell at $100,000 above that kind of thing. So now we're coming back to reality a little bit. And the nice thing about a property going on market is before there was that positive reinforcement for sellers saying, "Oh, my property is going to sell for so much." Now it's kind of negative reinforcement, where if they get 1,000 views on their property in a week and nobody puts in an offer, all of a sudden they know that their price is too high. As opposed to if I call up a seller and say, "Hey, see you own 123 Main Street. I'd like to buy it for 300,000," and the Zillow's estimate is at 400. They're going to say, "Go take a hike. I don't want to sell to you because Zillow says," and as opposed to if they listed at 400 on the market and it doesn't sell, then they'd be willing to listen to a $300,000 offer. So I like the MLS a little bit more than I have the last couple of years. I think both ways are good ways to find deals. And I think networking with other real estate agents is a real good way to find deals right now, because there's tons of agents like me out there who are calling homeowners who have people interested in selling, but don't work with investors. I think contacting agents is a great way to go. You can find agent emails anywhere and they're happy to talk to you because they might make some money off of you, kind of thing, as opposed to homeowners who think you're trying to screw them over and don't want to work with you. So I think that's probably the best way to go, is reach out to real estate agents and say, "Hey, if you find anything on or off market that looks like a good deal, send it to me. I'll look at it and then make an offer if it makes sense."
That's an interesting point. So you said that many real estate agents don't really work with investors. So I thought that this is a very natural thing, that almost every realtor has investor networks or something like this, but this isn't actually the case.
No, so most real estate agents just don't. Being a real estate agent is one of the strangest professions out there, because you only have to take a 90-hour course that really takes about 40 hours to complete, and then you get to help people with one of the biggest financial transactions of their life. It doesn't make sense. I mean, you need a 4-year college degree to do a lot of things, and real estate is 40 hours. So most agents, they get into real estate just to help homeowners buy and sell properties. They don't like working with investors. They don't understand the numbers behind investing. That's not their niche. And so if they come across a property that, let's say I'm calling up a neighborhood and I'm an agent who doesn't understand investing, and I talk with a homeowner who says, "Hey, I've got a property, it needs a lot of work. I don't want to fix it up myself before selling it. I don't have the money to do it," or whatever. And I'm that agent. I'm thinking, I don't really know what to do with this. The only person who's going to buy it is an investor. So sure, I'll list it. But the nice thing, so let's say you go out and network with those agents, they'll call you first and say, "Hey, Sam, I've got a property that just needs some work. Can you let me know what your offer would be?" Because then they can get the commission both from the seller and from you. And so they make more money. The seller's happy that they don't have to deal with showings or open houses on the market. And then you're happy because you found a great deal. And that agent, you just leveraged hours and hours of that agent's time going to find all of those deals just for you.
Then you need a very good system for communication, right? How do you handle all these communication?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've tried a ton of different ways to communicate. I used 5 or 6 different CRM systems that I didn't like any of them. And really what wound up happening, and this even transitions in kind of my story to from the real estate agent side to the business owner side, I wound up just developing my own operations system to communicate with agents, with clients, to keep leads straight. Basically, it's my own CRM system, and then I can do some other things. I can run my whole business from it. So social media scheduling, client management. I can track all the deals that come through and how much I would maybe make if they close, all of that good stuff, and then collect reviews at the end. Really, having one of those systems is the way that you can break through the ceiling of trying to make over, it's really about $100,000 a year. As an agent, if you don't have a system, you can use a phone and close 1 to 2 deals a month, maybe. But you're going to lose a lot of leads that are coming in, where someone will call you on a Tuesday, you'll forget about them because you don't have a system to track those leads. Once you get those systems in place, and every time, like for example, every time a new lead comes in, if you have an email sequence and a text sequence that sends them 1 email a day for a week and 1 text a day for a week saying, hey, I'd love to set up an appointment. Here's an intro video to the market, or here's 5 tips on investing, adding value to that lead and saying, I'd love to meet you. That's how you can all of a sudden scale from 1 to 2 deals a month to doing 4 to 7 and beyond. I'm in that kind of 3 to 7 range right now. And so by no means am I making millions of dollars as an agent, but clearing, whatever, 300,000 to 400,000 a year from that business because of those systems that I know if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to break 100 grand a year because I'm not smart enough or organized enough to keep those, track of those leads in my head.
Okay, yeah, that's really interesting actually. What's your position at the moment? So you're still talking about yourself as a realtor, but you're also an investor. What's your position between real estate agent and investor right now?
Right now, it's really, real estate agent is what I call kind of my active income. That's my job. I am able to take on clients and work with clients and do that pretty actively. With that, basically everything else that I do kind of funnels down from being an agent, where I think of being an agent is building my network and finding deals. I can do that now with my system, probably 20 to 30 hours a week that I spend being an agent. And then when I come across a really good deal, then I'll buy it myself, and my wife and I will flip that house, or, do whatever. The house flipping side of things, there's some people that'll take on 10, 20, 50 projects at a time. I don't want to take on that much leverage and take out big loans on all those properties. So we try to do 1 to 2 projects at a time flipping, which that only takes maybe 5 to 10 hours a week if we've got a couple projects, and that's at the most. We've got good contractors, people who can do the work. And so that's the house flipping. And then the tech side with the CRM system that I've developed, and I basically have just said, hey, other real estate agents, this is an awesome system if you're an agent or a wholesaler. I'm already paying to essentially license the software and then tweak it out for real estate agents. You can use it also. For me, that's just been, I get to document my journey as an agent and say, if this is helpful for you, go ahead and sign up. It's all automated. And then I've got somebody who's a full-time support person for that as well. So that's kind of how I'm able to run those different businesses without pulling all my hair out. That's been a process. The first 6 months of trying to juggle everything was a lot. And now it's just kind of saying, well, okay, it all comes down to finding people and finding deals, and then I can figure out how to make those connections happen. And there's a million different ways to make money in real estate and make other people a lot of money and add a lot of value.
So you basically build your own CRM, which is perfectly focused on this work that you're doing.
Exactly. So it's based on, so there's, HubSpot and Salesforce and all of those like big CRM companies. And so I just went to one of them and said, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I like what you're doing. I'd like to use your base system that's just generic for anybody. But it's like giving a Ferrari to a 16-year-old who doesn't know how to drive. Like, there's too much here that people are just going to get frustrated and not know how to use it. will you let me basically pay you a set amount per month to go ahead and build basically build a template on your platform and then get it out to real estate agents. And so I get to just make a little bit of the difference on it. I mean, I don't make much money on it, but I'm like, hey, if I can help people, it's pretty passive. I get all of the support of the parent company, which the one I use is Go High Level. It's like $300 a month if you want to just have an individual account with them, and I'm able to offer it to realtors at $79 a month. And so I'm like, hey, it's a win-win. If I can get a bunch of people on it, sweet, that's going to help me. That's going to help them, and I can make this software that otherwise wouldn't be accessible to people accessible, and something that's better than most of what's on the market.
Does this also mean that you kind of train others to do similar things that you do?
Yeah. So what I wind up doing is I've got a little bit of a mentorship program just for new agents. And so I'll take on right now, I'm doing some group trainings where I'll have a couple people at a time where we'll just meet weekly, and I'll answer any questions that they've got and help work through specifically issues regarding investing as far as working with investors as an agent. I don't do training for people who have been in the business for a long time because I haven't been in the business a long time. They shouldn't work with me. I'm not the right trainer for them. But for new agents, that's something that I do. I do wind up just doing some training and some consulting for people, just trying to help make especially their first 4 to 6 months a little easier than mine was, where I was just bumbling along and trying to figure out how it all works. And if I can help them skip that and make more money quicker, that's a win. So yeah, I wind up doing a little bit of consulting. It's not like a business right now, but if someone comes to me, I say, yeah, let's hop on some calls. Let's do a bit of a mentorship, and I've got kind of a skeleton for that.
What would you say are the most important skills if people want to start in real estate or build any kind of business?
I think the most important skills, one is figuring out what your strengths are. The first thing that I tell real estate agents, and I see this in any industry, is there's all these gurus out there, or these people who will say, you have to fit this mold, or here's my 7-step system, or here's this or that. Even just like the Spark Notes version for real estate agents is, I always say there's 4 types of agents. There's the business owner who likes to build systems and put money in to get money out. There's the marketer who's really good at social media and marketing. There's the networker who just likes to go meet a million people. And then there is the networker, the marketer, the business owner, and the technician. Or the operator who's really good with CRM systems and just systematizing everything in your business. And the first thing is you got to do is identify what type of person you are, and then learn how to optimize your strength. Because if I tell somebody who's a networker and just likes to go meet a bunch of people, yeah, you need to systematize everything in your business and spend X on marketing to get this return, they're going to go nuts and not have a good experience because they're not passionate about that kind of work. But if I tell someone who likes to network, go meet 7 people a day for the next 6 months, they'll be all over it, and they're going to have a successful business, and we can work on the rest of systematizing that afterwards. So I think that first step for any sort of business is understanding what your strengths are and leveraging those strengths and working really, really hard at it. And once you have that, then it's building systems to let you scale. So kind of the first, I think a lot of people skip that first step of working really, really hard at and using your strengths. They try to get straight to let's systematize everything. Let's, be a business owner. Let's listen to Alex Hormozi and build a $50-100 million business. And it's like, well, yes, get there. But first, you just got to start at the ground level and build something up from there.
Is there one certain piece of advice you wish someone gave you when you started?
Don't be afraid to lose business if it's not the business that you're targeting. I was trying to just say, anybody who's looking to buy or sell a house, work with me. I'm an agent. That doesn't convey expertise. Hyper-focus your audience. You're going to wind up, you don't turn away business, but you're going to miss business because you're trying to serve everybody and every type of client. Focusing in on one niche and one type of client and then going after that would have saved me tons of hours of just spinning my wheels trying to figure out a part of the business that I didn't really even want to work in or need to understand.
Which kind of niche could this be if we're talking about real estate?
I mean, there's a bunch of different niches. It's all kind of about picking one and going from there. I'd say if you're younger getting into real estate, I think that there's not a lot of people who work with first-time home buyers really, really well. And what I mean by that is your niche could be condos and townhomes under the median home price in the area. And you're going to be the condo townhome guy or girl and help people figure out how to buy a property with 0% down. There's loan programs out there to do that. People just don't look into it as much as they should. And if you are that person, all of a sudden you're going to attract that kind of business. And those first-time home buyers will buy their first home with you. And then in 5 years, when you're, say you're early 20s, starting as a real estate agent, once you're late 20s, they're going to be buying their second home and want to work with you. It could be working with house hackers and teaching people how to do that. One of the agents on my team in Nashville, that's all she does, and she crushes it. You can also do just working with flippers or just working with multifamily or saying, yeah, I want to just do luxury properties, and you can hang out at the ritzy areas of town and just try to schmooze people and, whatever it is. You just pick whatever niche you have a competitive advantage in based on whatever age you are, whatever people you like hanging around, what your circles are, and then really just dive into that niche.
You shortly talked about 0% down. This reminds me of terms like creative finance and sub two. Don't know if you have any connection or knowledge about this Pace Mortgage stuff. And I really don't know how many people use this and actually talk about this. I just know that I don't see anyone doing things like this in Germany. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think the creative finance and sub two stuff's awesome. I'm actually the house I'm in right now. We bought this on creative finance. So the seller of the property, it was a rental for him. His tenants didn't pay rent for 2 years. And so he was just fed up with renters. He's like, I don't want to sell the property because I'll have to pay taxes on everything on the gain that I make. But I want to actually get monthly payments. And so we said, okay, sure, we'll buy it from you. And you're getting about $4,500 a month in rent that he was supposed to be getting. We said, well, we'll pay you $4,500 a month. And we worked out the terms. And now it's been a great deal for both of us because we got an interest rate that's about 2% lower than where the market is right now. And he gets his monthly payments, and it's a win-win. So stuff like that, I think, is really helpful. And you're exactly right that people don't look into it as much, or they have an idealized perception of it. I think whenever someone comes up to me and they're like, I want to do creative finance, they're thinking, I want to put no money down on a home, have the seller finance the whole thing at a 0% interest rate, and pay 80% of what the house is worth. I'm like, well, that's not going to happen. The creative finance, it's kind of give and take, but there is a lot that you can do with the creative finance. Where what I'll work with people on is, well, one, the 0% down loans from the bank. At least in the US, if you buy in an area that's outside of a major city, if you buy in a rural area and you make kind of at the median income or just below, you could buy a house with 0% down on very favorable terms. And that's something that I'll work with people on internationally. So in Germany, what creative finance comes down to is finding somebody who wants to sell something and is willing to not get cashed out right now. And so I don't know much about the tax code or how that works in Germany, but I would imagine that would be probably a big plus for somebody who wants to sell something on monthly payments instead of selling it all at once, maybe like it is out here. So it's really just finding someone that is usually older or wants to retire. Out here, it's generally people who are like, yeah, I just want $4,500 a month for the rest of my life so that I can go sit on the beach and not have to work because that's a pretty good salary to do nothing. And you say, okay, cool, I can do that for you. And then that's where you look for the win-win solution. And I think that's how creative finance works. It doesn't work when people go in and if you're not working toward a common goal, that creative finance won't work.
Would you say that it boils down to you need to find someone who doesn't want to have cash right now, but who's okay with getting a salary instead, basically?
Exactly. They don't need the money right now to put it into something else. They would rather have that money make them money. I know Pace Morby always says it. He's like, you let the seller become the bank, and the bank is at the top of every transaction. But that's really true, where if they would take the proceeds from the sale and put it into the stock market where they get maybe 7% a year, if you say, well, instead of doing that, you can finance it to me at 6% or 5%, it's then there's something backing it in real estate as opposed to you just throw it into the stock market and hope that it goes up kind of thing. That's the kind of person you're looking for, is they just want that monthly cash flow.
Awesome. Thanks for your thoughts on that. For the end, I'm interested in what are your plans for the coming month, years, or in general, what are your plans for the future?
These plans have changed a lot over the last couple of years. At first, our goal, my wife and I, we've been married almost 3 years. And when we were engaged, about to get married, our goal was to retire before 30. I was 23, she was 21. And so we said, sweet, we can do it. I realized I like working and I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't working. So because over the last couple of years, we were like, well, we're, about halfway there. I'm 26 now. She's 24. My goals have shifted to really saying, well, how can I design a life that I really enjoy? How can I try to build a business that provides for my family, that provides a lot of value to a lot of people? And so my new goals are really, I'd say, people focused as far as, so for my real estate agent business, I really want to, within the next kind of 4 years, I'd love to build up the mentoring side and build up an agent team where I can pour into other people and help them, because it's really learning the skill and becoming good at selling real estate. Puts food on the table, you make good money doing it, but you do feel kind of empty because I'm like, there's more that I can be doing to help more people. And so if I can be mentoring, 40, 50 agents a year, helping provide for 40 to 50 families, that's going to be a lot more fulfilling than just me trying to sell enough real estate to make it through the next year. So that's that side. As far as investments go, our investments will then pay for our lifestyle if something were to happen. So let's say I couldn't work, or my wife couldn't work, or God forbid something happens to one of us, that the other one would be okay through our investments and the properties that we own. So I think that's kind of the goal there. And then really we'll see what the next 5 to 10 years holds. I just know that I like working, I like helping people. And I think that's the best place to start, of saying, hey, how can I make an impact in this world with the time that I have here? And how can I use business to really add value to people, make a difference? And at the end of the day, when I'm on my deathbed, knowing that there's nothing left that I could have given, that's really the goal, because the money goes away, the stuff goes away, but you got one life to leave an impact. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Very true. Is there anything, any way people may support you on that further journey?
For me, it's really just, if there's anything that I can do to help. I mean, if any of your listeners, like if you're out there and you're saying, hey, I wish I could just hop on a call with Tony and talk through this or that, I'm always happy to take those calls. If you're either in California or in the US somewhere, I'm happy to help run through real estate deals. The circles that I run in is I really try to connect people with solid real estate agents. So even if you're in New York or Florida or Iowa or wherever, we can hop on a call and I'll connect you to an agent. Doesn't cost you anything. I'll work with the agent. I've got referral partners kind of across the US. And so I can help with that. But really, it's just, I'm here to provide value. And if there's anything I can do, just let me know.
Then where can people find you?
Yeah, on Instagram, I'm pretty active there. Instagram is tonyclark.realestate, Tony Clark, Los Angeles. It should show up on Facebook. On biggerpockets.com, you can find me there too. That I try to stay pretty active on that site. Those are probably the 3 best ways to reach me. If you want to try to find me on TikTok, I've started trying TikTok a little bit, but it's probably Instagram, Facebook, or Bigger Pockets. Tony Clark or tonyclark.realestate. We'll find you there.
Then thanks a lot for taking the time.
And absolutely, thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking part in this Never Employed chat. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interviews with business owners and investors, or simply listen to the audio version in your favorite podcast directory. Make sure to follow me on all your preferred social media platforms, so that you never miss life-changing business tips. You find me on every platform with the account name samhartmann.com. Start a business, become successful, and tell me about it. See you next time.